Hello, and welcome to this video on our toured package program, Pano2VR. In this video, we will discuss the methods and techniques to create a toured package. You will need to have a few things installed before beginning. Make sure you have our metadata tool and the Garden Gnome package viewer installed before beginning. To find these tools, open a File Explorer and navigate to AutoCAD Development, Metadata Tool, and install the latest version. The Garden Gnome package can be found by doing a Google search and following the Download section installation instructions. We begin by creating a temporary folder on our desktop with the building address and a subfolder for each floor we will be working on. This is where we will be outputting all of the data at the end of the Pano process. It's very important to put this on your desktop and not into a folder in Dropbox. If the output folders are placed in Dropbox, it will cause huge problems. To begin making a toured package, you will need to do a few things before opening the Pano2VR program. First, navigate to the Showcase folder and go to the folder that has the photos for the floor you'll be working on. Inside that folder will be a folder called TCC Data. This has all the data we need in order to make a toured package. We need to edit the ENU area text file. Open this with Excel. You will see the columns here don't actually show anything in the field up top. This is because row 12 has all the data in the first column. We don't need any of the data in the first 11 rows. Go ahead and select those rows and right-click to delete. Don't just hit the delete key, as this will not remove the rows. We need the headers for these columns, but we will need to separate them in order for our metadata tool to work correctly. Click on the A1 cell and delete that information. Next, you will need to navigate to the Project Docs folder and then into the Pano2VR folder to find the Templates folder. Here, there will be a file called headersexample.txt. Open this file with Excel. This has the correct format for these columns. As you can see, each column has its own data in the top field. Click row 1 and copy it. Then go back to the other file and paste it into row 1. Save this file and exit. This will allow our metadata tool to process the photos properly and attach the coordinate data to each photo so the Pano program can physically place the photos correctly. Next, open the metadata program. You will need to point the program to two different locations. The first one is the ENU area text file we edited in the last step. Navigate to the TCC data folder and select the text file. Then you will need to tell the program where to output the finished data. Here you will select the Pics folder in the floor you're working on. Navigate to the Showcase folder and select the Pics folder for the floor you're working on. Finally, click Add GPS Tags. The program will then go through all of the photos taken by the TIMS card and add the location data to each picture so that it can be physically placed in the Pano program. This process can take a while depending on how many photos there are. A dialog box will pop up when it's finished. Those two steps must be done before opening the Pano2VR program. If you have multiple floors to create a toured package for, I found it useful to complete these steps for every floor before opening the Pano program. Once completed, we open the Pano program to begin the toured package. Navigate to the Project Docs folder and then the Templates folder. Copy the .p2vr file to your temporary folder on your desktop. Rename it to the floor you're working on and double-click it to open the Pano2VR program. You will have one of these files for each floor of the building. Once in the program, the first step is to set the output folder to your temporary folder on your desktop. If you copied the .p2vr file to your temporary folder, it should default to the correct location. However, you will want to double check. click the green plus and select HTML5, then the folder icon to set the output to your temporary folder. Make sure to select the parent folder of the floor you're working on. Outputting will create a lot of folders and files, so you don't want these to get confused with any other floor's files. Get in the habit of doing this first so you don't accidentally output the files to Dropbox or anywhere else. If you output to Dropbox, it will cause a huge problem. Do not do this. Next, you will need to select the skin for our toured package. Click the folder icon at the end of the line that says skin and navigate to the template folder and select the building address.ggsk file. This will load in our toured template to work off. You will want to rename this file prior to selecting it in the Pano program to the address of the building you're working on. Next is to add the floor plan into the Pano program so we can navigate around the building of our toured package. At the top, click on the map icon. Then you'll want to locate the building by typing in the address in the search bar at the bottom. You'll most likely have to zoom in or pan around until you can find it because the flag can be difficult to see. I like to have Google Maps open in another window to help me locate the building. Now that you've located the building, it's time to load in the floor plan map. Click the green plus sign and choose Add Floor Plan in the pop-up box. Navigate to the Showcase folder and then the TCC Data folder again. There should only be a few options, but you'll want to select the area.png file. The next step is to modify the map data using the panel on the left. You will only need to modify a few boxes here. For map ID, there cannot be any spaces. If we're using the .png file, you will type in PC_floor_, then the number. If we're using a CAD floor plan, then you will replace the PC with CAD. The next box will be named the same as above, but you can have spaces. The next box is for the tags for the photos. This one also cannot have spaces, so name it floor_, and then the floor number. Finally, choose the PNG format. I like to save after a few steps because the program can sometimes crash. It's a very intensive program for our computers, so don't get discouraged if certain steps take a long time or if it crashes. Save often if you have to. Now that we have our floor plan map in Pano, we have to scale it and place it for everything to work correctly. We will need to open CAD to take a measurement to scale with. I like to have the map in Pano program open first, because it can sometimes be difficult to see the point cloud data here. I'll make a mental note of where to take the dimension and find that area in CAD. Typically, you will want to find a long straight wall. In CAD, you can zoom in and use the distance command to take the dimension. In order to use this dimension in Pano, it will need to be converted to decimal format. Go back into the Pano program and make sure the area you have dimensioning is in full view. Unlike CAD, you cannot zoom into one corner and then zoom out to zoom back into the second point. The full wall must be in view. Click the Protractor tool above the map and select Measure Distance. Select the same wall you measured in CAD and type in the dimension you converted to decimal. Make sure to select feet from the drop-down menu. There will be no noticeable change here when it's finished. Now that you've scaled it, we will need to geolocate the floor plan map so that the photos can be properly located. Click the Protractor tool again, and this time select Geolocate Map. Find the building in the map and double-click in the approximate location. The floor plan map will appear, and then you can fine-tune its location and rotation. If it doesn't look like the floor plan fits inside the building on the map, that's okay, as we are only getting its approximate location. Use the icon that appears in the middle to move it around, and click and hold the arrow to rotate it. Be careful not to use the grip points at each corner. These grips will scale the floor plan map, and we've already done that. Click the Protractor icon again to save the geolocation of the floor plan map. Now, we can finally add in the photos. Navigate to the folder for the floor you're working on in a File Explorer. You will notice there is now another folder named Process Files in the Photo folder. This is the result of running the metadata program. It essentially copies all of the photos taken from the TIMS cart during scanning and adds in the coordinate data to be able to locate each photo's location in the real world. Open that folder and select All Photos by clicking on the first one and using Ctrl-A. Click and hold on the first photo and drag them into the bottom section of the Pano program. It's very important you click the first photo, as this is where the program thinks the tour starts and we want the photos to be in order. With all the photos in the Pano program, we are now at the most tedious step to create the toured package. Before we can place the photos in the floor plan map, we will need to tag all the photos with the correct information so the program knows how to place them. Select all the photos again using Ctrl-A and right-click on the first photo. Hover your mouse over the Add or Remove Tag option and click the line that has the check mark Processed Files. This will remove that tag. This part can take a while and sometimes crash the Pano 2VR program, so be patient. Once the Processed Files tags are removed from the photos, we will want to add in our own tag. We add these tags so they can show up in the program correctly and can be navigated properly if we have multiple floors in a toured package. Right-click the first photo again, and this time click Add New Tag. Here, you will type in the floor number you're working on, in this case, floor 3. Again, this part might take a while, so be patient. One way you can tell the process is not done is at the top of the screen where your line shows the file name. It might say, not responding. When this goes away, it's done. The other way to know it's finished is the circle icon will go away and be replaced with the normal arrow icon. Next, you'll want to verify the photos are in approximately the correct location on the map. You can check this by selecting the World Map type from the drop-down. Sometimes the photos can come in across the street, or even more rare, a few blocks away. In my case, the program thinks they're in the building across the street. Move them into the correct building by either holding the Shift key and then dragging your mouse around all the photos. You can also use Ctrl-A to select all the photos and then drag them into the proper building. This check is very important because it will dictate the next step of aligning the photos inside the building. Go back to the floor plan map you are working on using the drop-down. Select all of your photos and click and hold on the first photo and drag them to the top right corner of the screen where the north arrow is. The north arrow will be replaced with the box that says Auto Place. This takes all of the data from the metadata tool and all of the previous steps we did and attempts to place each photo in the building. This is another part that might take a while depending on how many photos you have, but you will know it's finished when all the little pins show up on the map. If for some reason the bar that has all of the photos disappears or you can't see it, you can use the toolbar at the top to show or hide them. It's the icon between the map icon and the ID card. The icon itself has photos with red arrows leading to each photo. Now begins the really tedious process of fine-tuning and aligning the photos in the building. I like to start with corridors, since while scanning, the team will usually walk down the center of them. I also like to use photos while taken walking through a door or near columns, since it's easier to tell where you are and which way the camera is facing. Make sure you check photos around the building to ensure the rotation of the placed photos and the scale is correct. If you need to change the rotation, select all the photos and use the arrow that shows up to rotate. Be sure to check a few more photos after rotating. You'll also want to be careful while doing this step, because double-clicking can relocate a selected photo to a different location. There may be an issue with the scaling if the photos don't seem to be fitting correctly in the building. If you think it needs to be changed, you will need to use the protractor tool and select the Geolocate Map option and use the grip points to drag in or out to change the scale of the map. The grip points work opposite of how you would think, so pulling the point away from the center of the map actually makes the floor plan smaller. You can see here how by changing the scale it makes the map bigger and the photos do not fit in the floor plan anymore. Here, the program crashed, but because I save often, I didn't lose a lot of work. This process can take a while, but it's important to remember the photos do not have to be placed perfectly. If we are delivering the toured package to a client as part of the job, we will most likely go back in and fine-tune the photos. We will also most likely change the floor plan map to a screenshot of the CAD drawing we produce. After you are satisfied with the alignment of the photos, now we can link them. Select all the photos and click the icon next to the protractor tool that looks like a chain. In the drop-down menu, select Automatic Linking Sequential. This will automatically link all the photos in numerical order. It will also be necessary to do a secondary link by selecting Automatic Linking Closest Nodes. You may have to delete some links or manually link photos to make the photo path work. To delete a link, click on the line that is shown between the two photos and then hit Delete on your keyboard. To manually link two photos, click on the first pin on the map. With your mouse hovering over the pin, a new icon will appear that looks similar to the link icon above the map. Click that link icon and simply click the second pin that you want to link. It's that simple. With all the photos placed and linked, you're almost finished. Now all that is left is to change some of the skin information. To do this, click the icon to the right of the map icon. This screen shows the output window and is where we originally started the program in. Click the icon that looks like an animal skin. A new window will pop up. This is a preview of what our toured package will look like when you are all finished and outputted. You will want to scroll over to where the address is shown at the top and click on it. Then, on the right side, click the row that says Text and change it to the building's address. You only need to type in the number and the street name. It's not necessary to put in the city or the state. You will want to link this text so that when you click it in the toured package, it will open Google Maps and navigate to the building. To do this, double-click on the box below Actions and then click the pencil to the right side of the URL section. Go to Asana and copy the link or navigate to the building in Google Maps and copy the URL that is in the address bar. The last thing you do in this screen is to change the map that appears in the bottom right corner to show our floor plan. Click that box and then click Map. In the drop-down for Floor Plan, choose the floor you're working on. There shouldn't be any other options. Click Close in the bottom right side of the window that you've been working in and make sure to save your changes to the skin file. Only one more step. We need to make sure all the tags show up properly in the skin for our toured package. To do this, click the Tools icon next to the skin icon. A new dialog box will appear. Here, you will select the floor plan you are working on from the tag drop-down. For the title, simply type in the floor number. With all that done, it's time to double-check your output folder. Yes, it's that important. Make sure it is outputting to your temporary folder on your desktop. With that done, you can click the box with the red arrow coming out of the top of the box and navigate to your temporary folder. This is where the toured package will be saved. I usually save them to the parent directory of the building's address and not the particular floor I'm working on, since it makes it easier to find later. Clicking Save will begin the output process. This will take a long time. I've sped it up 100 times for the sake of the video. If the box disappears, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's finished. Clicking on the Pano2VR program will bring it back up. You will know when the output is finished because you will have a yellow blinking File Explorer window. Clicking this will show you where the toured package file location is. Make sure to save one last time before closing Pano2VR. When the toured package is done, it's time to double check your work. Open that file and the Garden Gnome package viewer will begin to extract data so you can view it. You will want to check a few things before calling the floor finished. Make sure you can click through a few photos and pan around the photo. Click the floor number in the top left and make sure the photos are displayed there and the floor number is displayed properly. You will also want to check the address at the top of the screen and click the link to make sure it navigates to Google Maps and that it is the correct building. Finally, click the Windows icon in the bottom right to make sure the correct floor plan is displayed and you can click around to different pins to see the photos. If you can do all that, the floor's done. Now, it's very likely that there will be other tours to create for a building, even if it's only a single story. This is because the photos are broken up by floor and also for perimeter. But now that we have one done for the building, it becomes very easy to make another. You will need to make sure the ENU area text file has been edited for each tour you want to create. You also need to make sure that the photos have the metadata added to them. The easiest way to verify these two things is to open the ENU area text file in Excel and see if the top has all that data we deleted in the first part of the video. The way to verify if the metadata has been added is to open the folder containing all the photos. If there is a folder labeled Process Files, you're all set. If these two conditions are met, you can simply make a copy of the .p2VR file and rename it to the new floor. Then double-click it to open PanoTVR. Select all the photos and delete them. Since we already did a lot of the preliminary work with the first file, there will only be a few things we need to do to create this toured package. For the skin editor, you will only need to change the map info and the floor tags. The address and the Google Map link will all carry over. From here, you can change your output folder. Remember to make a new folder for the floor. Delete the map and start the map placement, scaling, and map information. Then go on to copying the photos in, aligning them, link them, and output. When you're all finished creating your toured packages, you will need to copy them over to the correct folder. Copy all of the .ggpkg files to Project Docs, Pano2VR, Toured folder. Also, you should copy the .p2VR files to the Pano2VR folder, just outside the Toured folder. You will also want to keep all these files and folders in your temporary folder until the entire toured package is created. If you need to make any changes to the toured package, it makes outputting the floor go by so much faster. So to summarize, edit the ENU files and run the metadata tool. Always output to your temporary folder on your desktop. Photo placement does not need to be perfect, but all the photos should match their view and all pins should be inside their respective rooms. Copy over the .ggpkg and the .p2VR files. Make sure to keep all your output folders for a little bit in case you need to make any changes to the toured package. This concludes our video on the toured package process. Thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something.